Welcome to Landlord Chick Podcast, the podcast that helps you take control of your real estate investing journey one step at a time. I'm your host, Karina Brown-Ufinger, and each week we dive into strategies, tips, and stories from the world of real estate investing to help you build wealth, create passive income, and achieve financial freedom. Hey everyone, so this is the first new episode I'm recording in quite a bit because, as it turns out, your girl had a stockpile of episodes that for some reason or another never got published. And I didn't even know they were out there. I didn't know they had been recorded necessarily anymore. But when my podcast switched over from Anchor to Spotify, and then looking through the recordings that were migrated over, there was a whole bunch of draft ones. And I was like, what are these things? And it turns out they were podcasts that I fully recorded. Didn't necessarily name all of them, so I had to go through and listen to them. And they're perfectly viable podcast episodes. I was like, what the heck was this? So right now, as I'm recording this, you guys are on the tail end of catching up, per se, as I've gone through and posted these older episodes. Now older, but they weren't out of date, nothing like that. It's just for ones I probably had recorded like various times. I was noticing some of the recording dates were like back from 2020, 2021. I was like, whoa, okay. So there's definitely a long list of podcast episodes that never saw the light of day. And I was like, you know what? Let's let those see the light of day. But we're starting a brand new season here on the Landlord Chick podcast. I'm super excited for what we've got going through the rest of this year. I've got a whole calendar of content planned out for you guys, going for about like 2 to 3 episodes a month. But in the meantime, I kind of want to catch you up on what's been going on in my neck of the woods. Some of it real estate investing, actually a lot of it real estate investing related. That'll be the largest portion of it, but just other things that I've kind of been doing during this time frame. So first off, I've been doing a little bit of a schedule revamp. So every once in a while, I'll go through this phase where I want to adjust how I run my weeks or how I run my days. And a couple months ago, I got turned on to the Full Focus Planner from Michael Hyatt, which I cannot say enough good things about his planners just for my taste, or they were a little expensive. But Michael Hyatt's Focus Planner is a really good planner if you are looking for an easy way to break down by quarter how you want to plan your time, how you want to schedule your time, because it includes sections where you plan out the goals you want to accomplish that quarter. And then it has weekly reviews and then your daily slides. Like it has your key actions at the top and then just miscellaneous task space. And then you can run your day along the side of it by the hour. But really, I cannot say enough good things about the Michael Hyatt Focus Planner. The only thing I wouldn't say is good is the price point. But that's been an absolute game changer for me. I recently started purchasing off of Amazon something called the Phoenix Planner, which is more or less a takeoff of Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Planner. It's about half the cost. There are some features that I miss from Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Planner, but this is an adequate replacement for half the price. But if you are in the need for a new planning system, something like that, definitely check out either Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Planner or check out the Phoenix Planner version of it on Amazon. It's just amazing how much in depth they have you create. They have you create your ideal day. They have you map out all the goals. I said, like with key actions, how will you measure the goal? How will achieving this improve your life? And they don't actually include, I think this might be just on the Phoenix one, but it includes like milestones that you can kind of like track your progress by a month or week, whatever sort of seems applicable to the particular goal that you're working on. So really using these for about, let's see here, this maybe close to a year, because I think I have 3 Michael Hyatt planners that I've used, and then this is the first Phoenix one that I've used. So I think it's been close to a year, maybe 3 quarters that I've been using this system, and it's worked extremely well for me. And yes, I still use paper planner, guys. Like I have this fancy Remarkable tablet, which I use for a lot of things, but I'm still a paper and pen person when it comes to planning my week, my quarter. Just absolutely, that's where it's going to be for me all the time. But I've also been revamping my weekly template. So I do have a weekly template that sort of operates my schedule throughout the week, and I'm setting new themes for days where I have certain days where I don't take appointments. So I have a rule for no appointments on Mondays. That's because Mondays are usually just hard enough to get into in a way. It feels kind of rough coming back. So I'll just always say, no appointments on Mondays. I'll make the afternoon go really quickly by getting into some of my deep work, which will make the day go quicker. But then just assigning themes, like on Wednesdays, I try and do a little bit of education for myself. So whether it be learning about something new tech wise, or even something more on the personal side, or maybe I am looking at a new real estate investing concept in depth, I reserve some time Wednesdays every week for some sort of education, improvement of skills, whatever it may be. If you're interested right now what I'm doing, other than like a little bit of schedule revamping on Wednesdays, I'm actually, because it is part of the education that I'm working on, I'm going to go a little techie nerd here, forgive me. But recently I've gotten super into all the amazing things that AI can do, particularly Notebook LM. So if you don't know what Notebook LM is, let me take you on a crash course. AI in general, if we were to sum it up, it's asking a computer to go and find answers for you anywhere with any sources they can find. Notebook LM is a different style of AI where you where you give it the sources, and then basically it tells you what all the sources are saying, and then you can ask it questions and it will only gather the answer to that question based on the information you provided. So your verifiable sources, whether it be YouTube videos, PDFs, linking to websites, anything like that. So really, Notebook LM is AI, but where you tailor specifically where it's going to get its information from. The best thing about Notebook LM and how I've used this is, as part of my education Wednesdays, is I'll find like 5 or 6 YouTube videos all about a topic. And if I were to watch those individually, considering that they're about, a half hour each, that would take a considerable chunk of time. But instead, what I can do with Notebook LM is I can link those YouTube videos in Notebook LM, and then AI will go to work. It'll pull out all the main points from everything, a little bit of examples, stuff like that. And then Notebook LM, one of its abilities, it has many, is it can create a podcast that recaps the YouTube videos that you linked to it. So Wednesday education for me more recently has been about Cal Newport's YouTube videos on scheduling. So that's what I've been delving into. And what's hilarious is that when I get done with the schedule part, the next Education Wednesday is I want to have Notebook LM teach me how to use Notebook LM by linking YouTube videos about Notebook LM in Notebook LM. It's some weird meta thing, I feel like, but that has been an absolute game changer for me in that regard. I feel like there needs to be an AI episode coming up. And honestly, it's not on the calendar. But now that I'm talking about this stuff, I feel like we got to do it. I feel like we got to do like an AI update, because I've talked about AI on this podcast. I think maybe I have once years ago. But oh man, I think we need to do another one on that. I think we're going to do it. We're doing a podcast episode on AI. It's sold. We're going to do it. We're going to talk about Notebook LM. We're going to talk about the differences between Grok and Gemini and ChatGPT. We'll talk about image creating. Yeah, we got to do this, guys. All right. Anyway, enough of my blubbering about AI, which, by the way, I just got into it since like March or so, I would say, in a very deep level. And I'll tell you this in the podcast episode about AI that we will do. But it really, truly just came out of a family St. Patrick's Day dinner. But anyway, so what have I been doing professionally other than basically what I talked about already with my new planning and my new schedule revamp? Well, there's been a little bit of pivoting going on here. So, you guys know, I'm not going to rehash it. I'm going through sort of like a building, rebuilding, rebirthing sort of phase here. Huge life shift 2 years ago. And so more recently, what I've decided is that I'm pivoting where my focus and my direction is. So where's my focus and direction going to be? I'm still going to be an investor. That's where I'm at. Hardcore. Like that's where my mind, my soul, my body, my heart lives, is definitely investing. But I've also realized after doing some public speaking engagements here in Wisconsin, particularly partnering with county sheriff's offices recently, I really like doing educational classes for real estate investors, particularly those that pertain to law. Strategies I like, but there's something about the law, and this might explain why in a past life in this life, by the way, I was actually in law as a career. I was not an attorney, by the way. So I was not an attorney. I was studying to be one, and I was a legal assistant. But for some reason, I really, really enjoy teaching rental investors, particularly when it comes to law, so whether it be state law or even the little bit of federal law like fair housing that we have. So when I was having this experience, I said, you know what? I've got to get serious about this. And I've had numerous people ask me, why don't I do online courses? Why don't I do online classes? And I think at the time, I just felt overwhelmed with a lot of other things I had going on professionally in my life. I was doing a lot of property management at that point. I'm not doing so much of that right now. I'm kind of tailoring down to specific clients and sort of specific people that I'll work with. So I was kind of overwhelmed, I think, at most recent point when everyone was talking to me about this. And then before I started speaking with Sheriff's Office again this year, I'm just like, you know what? We got to do it. So I've been working on creating online classes. These are all going to be live classes. I'm not really into doing recorded courses yet. I know everyone says that's the ultimate goal, and I mean, sure it is, but right now I'm just focusing on doing live classes. So I've got a whole bunch scheduled for this year, and I'm already starting to look at what next year is going to look at. I'm going to be promoting these on the podcast here so you guys know when they will be live and when you can register for them. I will disclose that these obviously are paid courses because I devote a lot of time to creating these resources, and I already technically give a lot of information for free on this podcast. So these classes are paid, and some of them are deep dive. Some of them are like 1 hour power sessions. But the few that I've taught already, like in the past couple months, I've gotten so much good feedback from that. It really, really has truly proven to me that I like doing this. And the fact that I can still teach well through an online platform is actually pretty amazing, because just because you're a great public speaker in person, which I'm not tooting my own horn. Again, that's feedback I get. It doesn't necessarily translate to doing online classes. So when the first couple happened and I was getting very positive feedback, minus the technical issues, because for one of them, I was using a platform that I wasn't familiar with, but it was the platform that the organization wanted me to use, minus those technological glitches, really great feedback. And that kind of shows me that, you know what, I can truly do this. So I'm going to be launching online classes. If you guys are interested in all, I'll mention this stuff at the end, but you can follow me over on Instagram, Landlord Chick, Facebook. You can follow my property management company, Brio Properties, or you can follow Spunky Realtor over on Facebook. All three of those are content platforms that I have. Brio Properties is my property management real estate services company. And Spunky Realtor is my branding for being a realtor. And you guys know Landlord Chick on Instagram because you know this podcast. So I'm going to be working on those a lot and pivoting towards focusing on teaching online classes, possibly building courses. One of the things that I know it's hard to do necessarily sometimes when you're launching courses is getting traction. And there is a fair amount of my classes that will be Wisconsin specific. So I will warn you in advance that there's quite a few that are more or less Wisconsin specific. I think a lot of my deep dives are Wisconsin specific because there's only, well, not technically, because I have one on bookkeeping, which would not be Wisconsin specific. Then there's fair housing, which would not be Wisconsin specific. But I really think the other ones off the top of my head, I think they're going to be Wisconsin specific. All of the 1 hour power sessions that I've scheduled and that I've written out for this year, those are non-geographic specific. So if you're an investor in North Dakota, Washington State, Florida, Texas, Arizona, Utah, you could definitely benefit from any of the 1 hour power sessions that I'm creating. So beyond pivoting to introducing more classes and instructions into my professional career, my portfolio focus is still there. However, it's more focused on the existing assets. And we're going to spend the rest of this conversation talking about where my portfolio is at and what I've kind of been going through these past couple months. So the focus, like I said, is basically on the existing assets, getting through some, not necessarily capital improvements in the sense of like large scale things, but redoing some driveways. I've had gravel driveways at 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, 4 of my driveways are gravel driveways, and I now officially have 3 of them which are paved, which is huge. I just need to get the 4th one paved, but it's quite a wide one. It's quite a long one. So it's like the quotes to do that are like, they're like as much as a roof almost. It's insane. I'm like, nope. I guess we're going to be living with gravel for a while on that side. Because this is a really wide driveway because it's a 3-bay garage that this driveway leads up to that's attached to my rental. So it's a wide space. So it's obviously very costly. And unfortunately, it's the way it's set up. There's nothing like you can do half now and half later. Like it just doesn't really mesh that way. Like I was trying, but they're like, no, that's just not going to work. Then I'm working on redoing some porches, particularly a front porch on my painted lady. I started painting it, about like, oh my gosh, it'd be more like 4 years ago because actually my mom was helping me paint it the last time I was working on it. Probably maybe about like 3.5. Yeah, 3.5, 4 years, I guess. So, but that porch just started to have some floorboards bust out. So I think your girl actually has to do some more serious work on that front porch and probably gonna have to repaint everything again. But then really what's been consuming my time is my first ever large scale rehab in my own property. This thing was serious. I'm going to walk you through this entire experience here. So, this is from the point of realizing I had to remove the tenant until basically catching you up to now in June. So, we're going to roll back the clock to, I believe it's going to be September of 2024. So September of 2024, I issued a non-renewal, or I had issued in Wisconsin here a non-renewal, so a 28-day notice. I'm not renewing your lease. Please vacate the unit, to a tenant at my quad. I had concerns about whether or not he was going to actually oblige and vacate, just based on what I knew about his ability to comprehend things, particularly when he was not on his medication. So in the back of my head, I was always kind of prepared for this to become a situation with an eviction from the sheriff. But I really was hoping it would not come to that. Honestly, 100%. I did not want it to come to that. Well, that's what it did end up coming to. So I went to court myself. No, actually, this one I did not go. No, I had an attorney for this one. And that's because technically this person is related to me, like second cousin once removed kind of situation here. Something like that, second cousin twice removed. I don't really know how it goes. But for that reason, I really didn't want to be handling the eviction. Just, there was obviously some emotions kind of tied up with it. So I hired my attorney. The attorney took care of getting the writ of eviction. It was actually relatively easy because my tenant did not show up to court. And in Wisconsin, if you don't show up to court, there's a default judgment issued in favor of the property owner. That would be me. And then the sheriffs came to perform the eviction. And my God, I thought my tenant was going to get shot in my apartment because the sheriffs come to do their thing. They've knocked on the door. They've pounded on the door. They've announced themselves numerous times. So they have no choice but to break down the door. They break down the door and he starts to come at them with an ice pick. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is how it happens. He's going to die in my apartment. Luckily, those deputies came with a lot of patience that day and they were able to subdue him. I think maybe with a taser. I'm not entirely sure how they did it, but they were able to subdue him. They were able to get him out of the unit. And then the real fun part started because this, I knew going into it, was going to be awful. This gentleman, as I said before, had some mental health issues and he was a hoarder. That was one thing that he could control in his life, was having things around him. So that he always had things around him. Something was always going to be of use down the road. So while this was a small 440 square foot apartment, when everything was said and done, we filled a 10-yard dumpster 4 times with his stuff that was in that unit. That's not including any construction debris, guys, for like the rehab that we would do. But so the sheriff takes him away. We got to start cleaning this thing out. I was very lucky that some other second cousins of mine who are related to him wanted to help out for the first day or two because they did kind of feel bad with what we were going to have to do. And they wanted to obviously also try and save some stuff for their relative. So I was very helpful. I was very happy to have that help in the beginning, because it really was overwhelming, and it's just like, my gosh. So we had help for a couple days, and then we realized that there were fleas in the unit, big time. And what's amazing is that for the flea infestation that we had, the level of infestation that we had, there was only a very small area that was actually carpeted. It was just the bedroom. And that bedroom, guys, super small. It's maybe like 10 by 6 feet. Like, it's a super small bedroom. So it was amazing the level of infestation we still had in that unit with that little amount of soft surfaces for eggs and stuff to populate, because everything else was hardwood floored in there. He didn't even have a couch in there, guys. He had like 2 computer chairs that he used as his seating, and he had like a dining room table, which was hardwood. So like there weren't a lot of like flea habitation spots in the unit, but there were so many fleas. And unfortunately, we didn't realize this until we'd been working in the unit for a couple days. So we had to get the bedroom cleaned out. Then we had to have pest control come in. Pest control, I used Orkin. Locally in this little branch, they said they have never seen a flea infestation that bad in such a small unit and not have it spread to other units. That was insane. Nothing spread anywhere else. It was crazy. Nothing else got tracked into another unit, which was super lucky because we were taking stuff through the common hallway sometimes rather than pitching it directly out the window to the dumpster, because there were so many people working there. Some people had to go through the hallway with stuff, and it's like, it's amazing that we didn't spread it throughout the entire building. Just, we were super lucky there. So getting that infestation under control set us back like about 6 weeks, because we tried just flea bombing ourselves for like a week. When that wasn't working, we had to bring in Orkin, and then Orkin came back probably 4 or 5 times. Because with fleas, it can't just be a one and done situation, because you have eggs in the unit, and those eggs will all hatch at different life cycle points. So realistically, fleas are like a 2 to 4 time treatment depending on how bad your infestation is. We were on the 4-time treatment scale there. Like, it was so bad. So once we got the flea station under control, then we could finally finish cleaning out the unit, finish filling up our 10-yard dumpsters 4 times. And then we could start like demoing for the rehab, because this place needed a major, major facelift. It was not only very dated, but its kitchen layout was very non-functional. So I knew in order to get top dollar for this unit, not only would I have to redo the kitchen, but I have to also improve it, because at that point, the amount of counter space that the tenant had was one small end cabinet. We're talking about like what, an 18-incher maybe? So an 18-inch wide, which was right next to the kitchen sink, and then an 18-incher that was to the right of the stove. And that was the entire counter space. That's a really small amount of counter space, especially when you need that one next to the kitchen sink to always be your dishwashing station. So I knew right away we needed to up the ante with this unit. So we demoed the kitchen, and then I brought in my contractor and we redid the kitchen. We did sort of like a galley kitchen where you have cabinets now on a bedroom wall rather than the narrow bathroom wall. And then we were able, because of that, we were able to extend the cabinet space. We were able to add about 24 inches or have about 24 inches of cabinet space on that one wall, which is where the sink is now. And then across from that, so straight across from that, and then we have the stove and refrigerator wall. And then in there, we have a regular size cabinet in between the stove and the refrigerator. So really what we've done is we've almost tripled the countertop space. We've quadrupled the cabinet space, which is incredible. It's so much more of a functioning kitchen the way it's set up now, and that's going to be a huge, huge improvement for me. Then the bathroom, we ended up demoing the toilet and the vanity, and then the vanity mirror, things like that. Give it an upgrade, give it a nice spruce up, give it some new floor. There's a standing shower in there. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, sort of at that point with that, because I didn't really need that cost in there, because I also have to do LVP throughout. I really wanted to restore, I have original hardwood floors in that unit. I really wanted to restore those floors. I really, truly did. I wanted to do it myself. but it just ended up being a little bit more than really I could bite off, because there were going to be huge spots that needed to be replaced, which meant going to like a Habitat for Humanity restore or salvage store, find some sort of matching original thin cuts of wood floor, matching them in there, getting it all set up. So I ended up saying uncle with that, and I ended up just going with LVP. So I got all new LVP throughout. I'm painting all of the woodwork. I'm painting all of the trim. So I've had all the walls redone actually by somebody else, but I've got a fair amount of painting to do myself. So guys, this really was a large scale rehab. It's the first one I've ever done to this degree. I was picking out countertops, cabinet colors, flooring colors, 3 different wall colors, just crazy, but it's going to be amazing. And the amount of rent that I'll be able to command for that unit is going to be incredible. It's going to be incredibly worth it, because now between that kitchen being redone and making the living room a little bit more functional with some built-in shelving in a certain area, we're really going to be able to sort of make it more appealing to a wider base of people. It truly is going to be an apartment for likely a single person, because that bedroom, you can't fit more than a twin bed in there. So no fair housing violation here when I say it truly probably will go to likely a single person just because of that bedroom. But it's going to be ample space for anyone that wants to come in and call themselves home, assuming they're not some big kitchen person who loves hosting dinner parties, then maybe this isn't the unit for you. But with the upgrades that we're doing to it, it's going to be more open. It's going to be lighter because of the colors that are in there. It's going to be more updated, and it's going to be really just an overall more inviting unit, which is going to be great for marketing the unit. So this really is the biggest rehab that I've done, because previously I've done a rehab in the sense of like all LVP throughout in a place. I've painted existing cabinets or had a contractor do it. Oh, I think he replaced the countertops in that unit. But we really truly were like knocking stuff out. We all new doors, all those sorts of things. Like there's more stuff that's new than not new in that unit. But because I've been kind of running the show, it hasn't gone as quick as I wanted it to. That is 100% my problem. I wanted to kind of do a lot of the work myself if possible, because I remember my mom doing all of that a lot. And I'm like, oh, she did it. That'd be really cool if I can do it. The reality of it is that my mom really worked full time for her portfolio that they had. Me, not so much. Like I have all these other hats that I wear, which means I don't necessarily have the same amount of time to go and do all these things. But that doesn't mean that I'm not a good investor. So I went ahead, I hired a contractor. Contractor knocked out the kitchen for me. Another contractor did the painting, and then got to circle back with some more contractors, get them back there. I have these really beautiful pocket doors, original pocket doors that are in this unit. They're visible from the hallway side, but because they land in the bedroom of the unit, I want to protect those from having, thumbtacks put on them, tape put on them for people hanging stuff on them. But then also a little bit of like added noise barrier between the hallway and the unit. So I have to get those walled in on the one side, which means before I do that, I have to refinish the other side of the doors, because I always told myself when that unit becomes vacant, I need to use that opportunity to refinish the pocket doors on the hallway side. But I'm super close to getting this done, guys. I think I want to have it available for like middle of July move in. Right now, as I'm recording this, is June 11th, so I probably have to say middle of July move in at this point. But I'll let you guys know how that goes. I'll let you know the price difference that I get for rent, because just for perspective here, I think the tenant I had there, their last monthly rent was, I want to say it was like $530. Uh, I should be getting probably 725, 750 maybe, possibly when I go to rent it again. So I'll definitely give you guys an update on how that all ended up, and maybe I'll do a full recap for you guys that's more planned out. This was all just off the top of my head. and actually give you sort of the cost versus the return as far as the rents goes. So I'll give you guys an update on that probably sometime in August or so. But that's really what's been going on in my world right now, just working on developing a new schedule for myself, working on developing those classes, getting those live, getting sort of like beta testing going on those before I announce them to the world in this podcast, which I have now done, and really sort of focusing on doing improvements within the portfolio that I currently exist. I am one of those people. I'm in the same basket with a lot of people out there. These interest rates don't make sense with where prices are at. So I'm not really in the buying mode right now. So I'm just kind of sitting tight, working on other things, making improvements where I can, looking at the market, hoping for a little bit of interest rate reductions and a little bit of increased activity, pivoting a little bit more towards being a realtor and a real estate investing instructor, offering other services and sort of scaling down my property management a little bit, but still working on being an active investor. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little chatty update. I feel like I did this most recently, like back in, I don't know, April or March, was it? But this will be the last chatty update for a while because, like I said, I've got a whole slew of the content scheduled for you guys, June through December. So next week, I'll be back with a brand new themed episode. And in the meantime, invest smart and live boldly.